Wukong. Wukong struggled for both of these junglers. It felt like the teams were playing very well on the disengage and stopping that champion, really threatening their backliners. That's a mix of a couple of things. Partly, it's these carries being really good at positioning. One of the best positioned players in game 1 was JackeyLove on this Varus. He has a Maokai to stand behind this time. I wonder if we are going to get something like a Scion in that top side again, so they can stand with Jace Varus' double poke. That could be one of the options available to them for top esports.
They end up going for the Darius band away. I do like that little bit of a respect band coming out for QingTian. Of course, with the Maokai, you've got plenty of options to go for those AD top solo laners. Could still see maybe the Camille come out here. Would make your engage very reliant on that side lane, but we'll wait to see what they want to go for now as EDG considering the idea of what they want to kind of go for right now.
Gotta say, there's no way I haven't seen that in a long time, especially from mid lane. It's going to be the Azir. Okay, so that is that champion which you've talked about an awful lot before. This has been the real threat. A lot of the games have been just, okay, how do we stop FoFo from doing damage? And in fairness, Toppies was doing pretty good at stopping him from doing damage when they have been asked of it. Something like that, Tanky Kasance also available towards that top side. Does make me wonder if you're going to get a response of this last pick Scion for EDG, because at that point, you can just tank up the Maokai ult, tank up the various poke as well, and allow the various carries to do an awful lot of work. It is either the Varus support or an AD carry, or a support themselves coming up the top at this point. Mark hovering over a couple of his favorites, always known as an ultless player, always known as one of these big engaged players when top esports were very much at their prime in the last few years. Might go back to old reliable here.
Might be able to kind of go for it for the moment. Nautilus going to be locked in there, so good bit of engage there, and it just rounds out top esports' comp very, very nicely. It does make me think, though, that because you have got the Nautilus, maybe a little bit more of the on-hit Varus rather than the lethality. We'll see what they end up kind of going for, because you're not guaranteed that kind of setup here. But EDG now need to pick their top laner at the moment. A lot of top lanes banned away. The Kasante being picked up gives you a hell of a lot of tank options. Camille, maybe the Scion as well. Ala has not really been a fan of those tank metas, and nope, he's saying, look, I'm going back to the old school. This is me. I'm one of the OGs, and the Camille is something he is exceptionally comfortable on.
Yeah, back when he was back on his previous teams, Camille was one of his real standouts. What that means is, you were talking about Varus builds. I actually want to hone into that, actually, because the way I see this coming out is that if you're trying to stand and fight or try and engage as top esports, you're probably looking to go forward with a hook, something like that. The response is going to be a tidal wave. It's going to be Azir soldiers in your face. It's going to be Sejuani. That's actually quite hard for on-hit Varus to actually stand and do damage in. So you might have to go towards the poke just so you have extra range with the arrow. Now, the problem with going for that extra range is that you are more likely to...
Someone, the other will be pulled down a little bit more into the pack of chasing playoff teams. We shall wait no longer. We shall hypothesize no more as we are jumping straight onto the Rift. I don't know why I put a bit of a twinge on hypothesize there, but I did.
We'll have to be creative here, just as these teams are creative on the Rift. EDG at stake for them. A rare victory over top esports in the regular season. Haven't done that since 2019 summer. 7 losses in a row to top esports in the regular season. Now they've met up a couple of times outside of that too. Demacia Cups in playoffs for sure. But in the regular season, top esports have been king. And the winner of this, of course, in the here and now, will join LNG right at the top of that table. This is the benchmark for your podium right now in the regular season. At the end of that first round robin, or close enough to it, these teams obviously have a little bit more to play with that. Haven't reached that 8 series mark just yet. But that's what's on the table. Tense doesn't begin to describe it.
This is it. The thing with the format of the LPL, I bring it up every single year, is you got to remember this is a single round robin. You only play each other once in a best of 3. Then the next time you're going to see each other is playoffs, potentially. So this is kind of your moment to make sure that this works, and especially with the way that the playoffs work. Of course, we got 7th to 10th in the first round, and the higher you go from there. There's going to be an Ignite coming down. A flash has been used. JackeyLove looking to try and just stack up some more auto attacks here, and Nautilus engaged, doing so much work right now. You will have the ebb and flow to sustain you up a little bit, but you still got to be very, very careful of those dredge spines.
Yeah, Mark, no stranger to the Nautilus, one of his most played, one of his most proficient champions. Gets the passive into the hook, hiding in the brush, gets
another one. Cleanse does get used there, as does the heal. So you've lost 3 summoners to the 1 of Top Esports. Great so far for EDG. And this is just Top Esports saying, look, we've the all-in on the bot side. We're the ones that are able to kind of, you know, get this early advantage. And they're utilizing it so perfectly.
Yeah, and even in the mid lane, we saw that Rookie taking his own level 1 trade as the Jason to the air, very importantly. So EDG, can they find something in this last remaining lane, which hasn't taken the hard trades so early? He's got himself a bit of a freeze. Jiejie spotted in River. Not sure if Tian spotted towards the spot side, but this could be a level 3 to level 2 dive towards there. How much XP can Meiko and Leave get off of this?
They're looking for it. Seeing if they can go for it. Tian looking to try and make this one work. Good dash, flash in underneath the tower, though. The heal is good. Oh my god, that was clean! That was clean! Oh my god, Leave just broke their ankles. That flash was insane.
Leave leaves them broken. That is insane and such an important play. When you're playing around something like this Nautilus, when you're looking for those dives, it is meant to be crushing early game, zone off of the wave. But Leave somehow, I have no idea how, gets away with not getting CC'd into the Varus burst. The Varus E misses under turret. That extra bit of damage doesn't come through, and then the tower aggro gets juggled about the place because of that Maokai W. EDG, huge victory in what should have been a crushing play. Let's go dissect this. What the heck happens here? Because you have a lot of CC to work with. You have the Nautilus coming through, you have the Maokai, and the Meiko goes in, but there's no way to reset aggro at this point. You've already got to that point where Tian has reset it onto the Nautilus. That is very awkward juggling, made very awkward by the fact that Leave puts them into a difficult situation.
Well, that ward's going to give you a false sense of security here now, Ala, as he's not quite seen the Maokai, as he's just waiting for that hook shot to come out, you would imagine. Not going to get hit back, but now recognizes he's in a lot of trouble. Will be forced to try and flash away. Those wires were going nowhere, and that's a good response kill now for Top Esports. Tian making up for that botch dive in bot lane.
Gets something to his name at the very least. Firing all cylinders this early game. EDG struggled to make an impact in the first few minutes in the first 2 games of this series. Very importantly that they do so now, because if you accelerate this Lucian army to their 1-item power spike, that could be a real game breaker. Top Esports, one of the best teams in the league, are playing around their power spikes. EDG will have to show them how good they are at that in this 3rd game. Looking at where everyone is across the map, see that Tian not going to be cowed by that dive. Gets, of course, that impact towards top side, goes in towards a Raptor steal. Meiko with all his AoE damage, very, very proficient at that too. Now back to a point waiting for the next hammer blow to land.
Oh, Jiejie now looking to see if they can maybe make something work in this mid lane. Ooh, to the skies, and the knockback being used. Means you're going to be in a lot of trouble. FoFo feeling confident. Both Phase Rush, though, being back them away. Jiejie should be able to put down a little bit more hurt if he so chooses, but not going to really be able to make anything else stick. But the movements here from Jiejie, a bit quiet comparatively to TM, but has been keeping up on farm, has been doing as much as he can. There's a good hook. Cleanse has to be used. Flash forward, JackeyLove. He wants revenge, but Mark flashes away, and JackeyLove secures the kill. Top Esports getting themselves back on the board in this bot lane.
Okay, that dive's one thing, but you're still playing against the Nautilus. You don't have a tower to help you out this time. Mark lands the hook. Jiejie not there in time. We are really blessed by having this series today go to 3 games, and in the 3rd game, be this all over the place in the early game. Again, you can see that it's considered. You can see that it's outplays. And when it comes to this one's fairly simple as far as it goes. Hook lands. One of the reasons why we're seeing bits and pieces of Nautilus that engage the course back into these Enchanter, Lucian Nami-like lanes, because you make 1 or 2 missteps and they get absolutely shredded.
Again, JackeyLove coming out on top in this lane. It's kind of been the theme right now. I believe Leave was feeling pretty good about himself after solo killing Ruler in his last series against JDG, but JackeyLove is just as scary prospect, if not a little bit scarier, depending on the day, to be perfectly honest. JackeyLove can be the best and worst of ADCs in the world. Come back and see where either of these sides go for. It's going to be the Lucian going towards an early Serrated Dirk, which I don't have a problem with, but definitely going to be seeing a little bit more damage coming out here from JackeyLove and Mark, especially when you get those big pushed up items of the Immortal Shield Bow and, of course, the Guinzu's Rage Blade.
Yeah, well, Dirk is just a very good laning item. Gives you so many early stats. Both jungles on the bot side, but Tian being pulled away from the play for now. Mark think he knows. I think he probably knows at this point. But there's a level 6 from Jiejie. Can he get out anyway? He's got the hook to the wall.
Oh, he's going to be able to Spider-Man his way out. There's a bubble, though.
Jackey.
Great Aqua Prison there on the JackeyLove, but they don't want to go too far underneath the tower. Now heal comes out, and they burn a summoner. A lot used there from the side of EDG, and they're taking a fair bit of poke. Tian is coming, and Tian has flash. He may look to try and just burn himself right on top of him. Mark does not land to dredge line. Yeah, I feel like I've seen those lollipops in the favor of the Nautilus far more than not. But EDG, they do not lose anything for that play, but they are going to lose priority in this bot side.
I thought that was doomed as soon as that bubble landed onto JackeyLove, but shows us how well he knows how to play the edge situations, as so many of these players do. I know the March block onto top side and QingTian. Getting closer and closer towards these plates. It is as close as you would like. EDG found themselves at a slight lead. As easily found, not as easily kept. Both of these teams so good in the early game. That's why we were so excited for this match, for this matchup. They know how to get ahead. They know how to stay ahead. Hook lands with that Meiko. It's coming in hot.
Yeah, it's coming in hot. It's going to land on both of the players in the bot side. Mark's not going to die. Meiko's going to flash away to make sure he doesn't fall. But another great execution. That's what you need to be doing there with the Maokai and the Nautilus in the bot side. Use those bruisers and those massive amounts of CC to just get your mark.
The easier setup of that hook has been so crucial before. This time it's actually on the Maokai coming down though from Tian. Even in this mid lane, you can see the laning mechanics on show from both of these teams really, particularly from top esports, the understanding of their damage control in that 2v2. Rookie, knowing how far he can get away with his phase rush, be safe, keep himself up and farm. You normally expect something like a Jace to be kind of bullied out in a couple of these matchups. Not to be the case. Rookie really understanding his limits on that one too. We're going to get back into these resets. Herald has obviously been alive for a minute at this point, but it has not been alive. There's not too many fights in the spot side. And Rookie showcasing his mechanics. He misses an EDG combo.
It happens, you know, it happens sometimes. It is how the nature of the game goes. We'll say, as you mentioned there, the Rift Herald hasn't been on the Rift for a while, but so is the Dragon. So neither team feeling comfortable to really go for that. We're already starting to see first completed items. The Frostfire Gauntlet being picked up here by QingTian makes him very, very powerful, even just in the 1v1. We will see I'll go back. You would imagine he would be very close. Yeah, he's only a couple of hundred, I'd say, away from finishing off that particular item. Now Tian says, okay, we got top lane priority, we can go for this. We're losing bot lane priority, they're going to go for that, and it's just going to be a trade of objectives. So come in now. It's pretty much the same kind of setup as we saw from game 1 and 2. It's top esports getting a minor lead. Those 1,000 or 2,000 gold leads don't mean the most in the later stage of the game. And again, I'm very happy because the Chem Dragon goes away nice and early, which means that we have potentially a good soul.
Yeah, because what that means is, but basically, if you have a useless soul, why fight over it? If it's a good soul, you get more fights. Which means that because we've had so little Chem Tech today,
and then you get a happy Nymaera.
Yeah, I love this. You know, most of the time, color casters, I was like, I like to see these rotations. I do love myself a bit of bloodshed too. It's just very, it's very cathartic to see. QingTian doing a really good job of getting this top lane turret down low. One thing to check in on, we mentioned this from Champs like as a kind of a point of interest. It's going to be the on-hit Varus. Got that shield bow built up, got that critical strike, will turn into on-hit as soon as built that Rage Blade. But the reason for this, in my eyes, is that you are dealing with the Camille diving onto you, and the shield bow shield and plus the immediate lifesteal is better at protecting you than standing half a screen away, because they're going to close that distance anyway. The problem with this, though, is that you're going to have to walk into a tidal wave, into Azir soldiers, and have the Sejuani ult hovering over your shoulder as well. I don't know if JackeyLove is really going to be a true front-to-back, able to do that much damage. That is something which JackeyLove is going to have to problem solve himself. It is going to be very difficult for him to have the impact he's had in the first 2 games.
Already see much fighting, I imagine, for next one. I say that, I look immediately towards the mini-map, and I see both junglers sprinting to the bot lane, trying to make sure they can get the thing. I will say, with the Immortal Shield Bow finished up here for JackeyLove, it is a lot harder to let this dive or any kind of like damage really stick, you would imagine, for EDG. You really would love to have the Gale Force and Imperial Mandate before you can go toe-to-toe. As Mark seeing if there's good wards, and that's going to spot out FoFo and Jiejie.
So they do have a defensive teleport to tower in QingTian if he backs off right now. I don't think they'll need it though. Rookie.
Oh, here we go.
4v4.
It's a 4v4, good double bubble, but yeah, JJ, you don't need to be standing there. Leave, just make sure he doesn't get caught by the back end of those creepy caterpillars. Keep himself alive, but Top Esports now get back in the ascendancy, pushing forward, finding advantages, and punishing over aggression.
And ever since that early dive gone awry from Top Esports, it really has felt that this bot lane of Leave and Meiko has just had the worst possible time. Jiejie not really able to bail out much of them at all. Herald's down here as well, there to give more gold over to JackeyLove. JackeyLove so much gold. Those problems about Dap dealing damage, they come later into the game. Not nearly at this point. The knockback!
Oh, this doesn't matter. He actually had a good guy minion, like literally stand in front of him, take that bullet, and that forces out flash from Mark. Not an ideal situation, but look, it's going to be fine. And we get to see while this is happening, QingTian trying to see if he can solo take this tower. Honestly, doing such a good job of just keeping Camille. Yeah, he's just ignoring him. Here we go. Goes all out. Ala nearly take it out. He's going to go into the Hex Deck Ultimatum. Not quite able to kill him off. It's very close, but Ala keeps his flash. QingTian gets himself more pressure.
More pressure. So that is a top lane winning side of the map. It's one of the reasons why Top Esports are very happy to commit all their resources bot side.
Here we go.
QingTian, though, has flash. Not sure he's getting out of this one, though.
But he does. He has a flash and a million dashes, but that's a melee top laner and a Sejuani, so you are CC'd up, but unfortunately for him, getting that wave crashed up, wanting that final plate, just gonna cost him his life. And Ala gets himself his first kill of the game.
Yeah, credit to Jiejie there. Kind of finds the gap in the break in the waves in bot side, right? Because it has just felt like every possible time you can go bot lane, you go bot lane. Jiejie finds a time where his bot lane's resetting, impacts top lane during that time, gets back out onto the map. So credit to him. He's had a bit of a rough early game again because Tian has been that rampant around that bot side. He gets something for it. At least Ala now gets one plate in return for the 4 that he lost in this top set. Does he get 2? Oh, not quite.
No, not quite. Ran out of time, and of course QingTian was coming, but now the creepy caterpillars are marching, and they are going to be putting down some serious hurt. He does have flash, but I don't think he's going to want to use it. Never mind, he does use it because he's got himself his hook shot, wall shot to get himself all the way back out. Jiejie is in the area, so maybe they look to try and defend this turret very low, though, and that's going to be easy. Oh, Meiko!
They can kill Meiko.
They can kill Meiko, but he's actually able to get the bubble off as well. Meiko! Smooth moves on that bot side. Does lose his flash and his ultimate, but keeps himself alive. And we're starting to devolve into these small little skirmishes, 3v2s, 2v1s, these little things that can gain you an advantage. Both these teams want them, and they're desperate for them.
They're desperate for them, and EDG are going to have to get more desperate themselves because they're now sat up, what, near enough a 4,000 gold deficit. A lot of that gold onto QingTian through plates, onto JackeyLove through kills and plates in that bot side, and of course the turret going down on both sides of the map. Top Esports, they found a way to kind of balance the books, say, okay, top lane's working out fine. FoFo just about getting away from that Varasalt in the mid lane as QingTian had thrown down, but EDG, they find themselves yet again in this series in a position where they're going to have to hang tight, get some gold, and then play around what power spikes they can. At least they have the 1-item spike on their bot lane. What can they do with that?
Look at the gold there. QingTian and JackeyLove miles ahead of everybody else, but I will say the mid laners have been fairly quiet, so they're not building up the most amount of gold between themselves, and as long as this game goes on, the more you tend to look at the later game execution, how these teams fight, how they look to try and make things happen for themselves. The bigger tank, I would say, in the Cassante over the Sejuani, in my opinion, I definitely would be looking more towards QingTian being the initiator. We'll have to wait and see. The Dragon now secured. It is going to be a Cloud Soul. Still very positive here for either side, you would imagine, and 16 minutes on the clock. It is, as you mentioned, a 3,500, 4,000 gold lead. So right now, it is still Top Esports getting ahead, but we've seen this 2 games in a row now, Nymaera. So what did they got to do differently comparatively to game number 2 to make sure they don't lose this? This could be one of those moments. Tian does not get collapsed upon just yet, but he does keep his own flash and ultimate, so it's all getting a bit testy.
Well, one of the differences that they do have is they have a Maokai, which allows them to play around Sapling Vision. That was one of the things against them in that second game. And they also have winning side lane. Allows them to push in on a side lane, walk towards an objective, or of course play towards that side lane if that falls through as well. So EDG, not going to have the same luxury of warding around objectives, or pseudo-warding around them with that, with those saplings. And even in this game, Tian, having a tanky top laner, feels bold enough to go towards the full AP build. First strike built up, Demonic Embrace going towards, I think it's a Night Harvester being built up. Actually not sure what the items were in there. Okay, might be the Leandrius coming out since the Phoenix Codex. So much higher damage coming out from Tian, who understands that actually, we can just play the slow. We have triple poke at this point. We have Varus, even though it's not going to be the poke. We've got the Jace, got that Maokai. I think if they just take it slow, and just make sure that EDG don't get a quick entry towards these objectives, I think they're going to be okay compared to their previous games.
So, following the fact,
Tell me,
LPL still uses a delay at the start of the game. So when the scoreboard drops down like that, always look towards the mini-map, because you won't notice it on the main screen, but you'll randomly see champions just really randomly shift positions across the map. And it's quite jarring, so I always keep an eye on the minimap for that particular thing.
So the funny thing was, I was actually looking at the minimap there, because I was looking at what was happening around this Herald, so I actually completely missed what was happening on screen. JackeyLove has his flash, taking the dangerous route back to mid lane. He's put himself up his Rage Blade. So important thing about Rage Blade, when you get your double hit, that double on-hit effect, it actually applies your lifesteal twice as well. It's again just more survivability for this Varus who gets Jiejie.
Yeah, he's going to get knocked up here by the tidal wave, and on the backside there, the Camille finds her mark and gets herself a shutdown. She may go down in response though. So with a top for an AD carry, Jiejie using his ultimate to make sure he does not get CC'd down by the Nautilus. And this was just a fight for the sake of a fight. There's no objective to take right now.
I mean, that was just JackeyLove walking up and throwing himself into Hell's Maw. Goes down, despite having so much gold. And just going as the one-man army really does not work out for them. It's a 1-for-1, but one that EDG will take every day of the week with a shutdown attached to it.
This game is just starting to reach towards a boiling point. You're seeing these things. Look at the replay here, because again, they're just kind of posturing. No one's really doing anything. 2 steps closer for JackeyLove, and now all of a sudden he's being chunked.
Yeah, I think he's looking for an ult. I think he's looking for the Varus ult. I think that's the big thing. But we talked about, okay, EDG might have to stall out what item spikes they have. They do have the bot lane power spike, but what that means is that when Camille flies in, the Varus is on basically no HP. Goes down for the attempt, sure, Camille tends to die on the engage anyway, no matter what happens, but
we're going back in. Rookie, he flashes. Can he survive? No, he cannot. A scissor kick to the back of the head. And that's going to be EDG bringing this one back. They've equaled up the kills. They're still behind on gold, but you can see now with this mid-game power spike, 2 items on the Camille, they're taking control.
Oh gosh, teleports. Oh, this is the replay of it. Okay, teleport behind in that bot side makes a lot of sense, because think about top esports, that they have the winning side lane in the Cassante. That's not necessarily the truth for Rookie on that Jace. Can still very much get ult in. He needs to have like multiple rounds of cooldowns to really break open a lot of these side lane plays. And Jiejie, credit to him again, despite Tian probably having the better series so far, gets into that side lane at a very important moment of time and gets Camille to a point of power. I'm really interested in what they're going to build next though. Are they going to build towards full burst in these team fights or go more towards the side lane if they feel they have an opening there?
Maybe Hullbreaker, we have seen it a couple of times. Divine Sunderer, not Divine Sunderer, sorry, Spear of Shojin is something we do tend to see quite as well. Shelly will get to do a second buff into that mid lane, but look at the damage. Not going to quite land the ultimate though from Jiejie. Really wanted to try and catch out JackeyLove with the fact that he does not have a cleanse or any kind of Mikhail's Crucible. It's not going to happen. EDG do lose another turret. They are starting to realize that gold is not insignificant for the side of top esports, but with the Lucian as big as he is right now, he will start to hurt. He will burst anybody down. You just got to be so very aware of it.
So, EDG shielding the Azir on the side lane, moving members towards that side of the map. They're not going towards this dragon themselves. Very dangerous to dash forward there into the Varus ult. Of course, they have the cleanse on leave, but it's still inviting danger. FoFo shielded by 2 members, able to push him on this side of the map, and because no team has picked up the 2 early dragons, and it is a Cloud Soul, not something like a Hextech or a Mountain. Not like Cloud Soul is invaluable or like no value, but still they choose to give that one up in return for gold, try to get themselves a bit more into a fighting state with the items they have in hand.
Like I said, it's a late soul. It's going to be 30 minutes by the time you're able to get that, and it is a Cloud. It is still good. It's not exactly the most game-breaking of ones in the game. It doesn't really give you any, what I would call, like, combat stats as such. You know, no armor, no AP or AD, nothing that's going to definitively help you. Yeah, the movement speed is good.
If you're hitting a trading dummy or a trading dummy was hitting you, like, it's not going to help you with that.
Exactly.
Now, I do think that movement speed and slow resist are very underrated. I think that it is more valuable than some people give it credit for, particularly when you're a Jace or a Varus, which have no inherent mobility in themselves and ability to escape. That can be very important away from minute sidesteps from a Sejuani, minute sidesteps away from a Tidal Wave, which allow you to fight around. And those minute things might come into account around this Baron. Top Esports.
No TP on Ala.
No teleport on bot side.
Yeah, no teleport on bot side, but you got to be so careful with how you want to go for the 6,000, 5,000, 4,000. There's the ultimates coming out from the junglers. Mark taking a significant chunk of his own health bar, secured. Got it in there, and Jiejie wasn't there on time. Good Aqua Prison to try and stop Mark from really re-engaging this fight. Chain of Corruption is decent, and they take down Jiejie. Here we go! FoFo finds 4 men with the Shurima Shuffle, and this fight is all EDG. Never mind, JackeyLove still doing work, and Ala takes it out on the backside of it. What a turnaround fight from EDG!
But even with losing 3 for 3, I suppose, going even in the fight, denying 3 Baron buffs in that scenario is absolutely insane from FoFo. Gets the massive shuffle, despite losing the objective. Makes up for the blushes of EDG's macro, slips the net a little bit. Ale didn't have the teleport for that play, but what a hero play. Absolutely insane.
They lose the Baron, but what a turnaround. FoFo is just monstrous here. And the funny thing is, he does all the work and doesn't get a kill. But let's have a look at the replay here, because again, Jiejie tries his best, but he can't get there in time.
Well, because you're trying to use the culling at this point, right? That's your one real big, long-range, non-committal source of damage. But the Maokai ult kind of nullifies that. You're just waiting at this point. Just look at FoFo. Waits to see what's off cooldown. Flashes over the Nautilus hook to get himself out of CC threat and gets the huge play. It doesn't win them the fight in a clean ace, but it gives them so damn much and takes away so many Baron buffs. That is incredibly valuable.
Delays the game again. Will still be able to use these Baron buffs as Rookie did keep his, as did Tian as well, but what a fantastic play. Could have been a hell of a lot worse, and this is again EDG not willing to let this one just go. Leave, needs to be careful, good double bubble, but you don't have Ala here, and FoFo was late on the rotation as well, so they're still pushing in on this. They will just crack open the base. Top Esports not to be outdone or outshined, but if these are the kind of plays EDG are going to be playing with, Top Esports are going to have a hell of a time taking down this second Nexus for themselves.
Yeah, 4,000 gold lead might mean a lot to another team at this point in the game. Doesn't necessarily mean that for these teams in the LPL. You see the play in the future, find their way towards it. Ala, as you said, kind of getting something on the side lane, building up that BF sword, probably going towards the Spear Shojin, probably at that point. Outside chance of being a GA if he feels like he needs to survive the initiation. I would suggest that the Shojin probably the better damage option in this case. But EDG find themselves back onto the map. Dragon in a minute. Baron buff just wearing off for Top Esports as they come back out onto the map as well. It really is on a knife's edge as the engage comes through.
They try to get the engage coming in right now. They are going to try and push this one on, but Mark's kind of aligned. QingTian sweeping in on the backside. He's going to try to go all out, you would imagine. He is, and Leave goes down. Mark put his life on the line for his team. FoFo will not fall. The rest of Top Esports are just chasing him down, but you've got this Camille still pushing in a side wave, so not exactly untoward or not to be undone here by EDG, but Top Esports recognizing there's no bot lane. They may look to try and end the game. No, they know 30 seconds till Dragon. They know they can't do it into FoFo. As they maybe thought there was
hanging out of vision. He was just wondering, just seeing who was showing where. He chose not to teleport into that fight. Very important to note that, right? Because Ale understands that he is probably the one balancing factor which Top need to really take into account. Because if they flub one of these engages or they get delayed around an objective, Camille's at the point where she can take a significant part of your base. As it happens in this replay though, Mark, you know, he picked up one of his most faithful, reliable champions in the role list for this game. We don't see it nearly as much nowadays, but he gets a huge play at that point. Catches out the bot lane of EDG at a very important point, and that leads them to the point where they can push up in mid lane, get set up towards this Dragon, get themselves onto Soul Point, despite the actual stats and the Soul not being as valuable as something like the Mountains that we've seen in the previous bits of the series. Mark again finds a hook.
Yeah, flash away by Ala. And Mark, I love that you brought up, you know, one of his more comfort champions. 73 games career. This will be 74. It's actually roughly about 50-50, 35 to 38 in terms of win rate percentage there, but definitely something he knows exactly how to build around. As we can see now, here goes Jiejie and FoFo to back themselves away. The power of this Maokai ultimate. You can see Tian just abusing this 13.1 Maokai, saying, I will do enough damage. I will be a significant threat.
I am the AP now.
I am the AP
Mages
on this
never
team.
heard of them.
But exactly that. So there isn't a huge amount of frontline outside of QingTian. So the big thing is the top esports, they're playing with fire. You get the damage down. You're able to kind of dictate the fight. Awesome. Great for you. You will destroy this EDG side. On the converse of that, if you get caught, you will be melted so quick.
So this is kind of like the concept in League of Legends, where you don't have someone that will tank all the damage in the world like a Sion. But what you do have is threat. You stop people walking towards you and taking fights with you because they say, actually, if you walk towards us, you die because we ignored this thing. That is still very, very apparent in this game, despite something like that Lawless being able to be taken out in his own regards, or that Maokai going towards AP. The damage behind them is so insane that EDG can't openly approach them. They need to be on vision. They need to have safe boundaries for Leave to walk back through a tidal wave. Ale's been actually held up in the side lane for a while now. He did go for the GA, so maybe looking towards that one big team fight where that active can come in. So important, that revive. The top esports, they've had enough of his side lane shenanigans. Putting 3 people in his lane, 4 people on his side of the map. Now EDG need to find themselves, puzzle themselves into another form of victory. They get themselves an open lane themselves, though, to play around. Parasol misses.
Parasol does miss. Chain of Corruption has been used, but Baron now in 10 seconds. That's a big cooldown that you don't have. You've also lost a TP from Rookie. His top esports look to try and make sure they don't lose this objective. FoFo pushes out top side. Alatzel has himself a TP. Control for the moment does belong to... Rookie gets himself a blue, but I was going to say that. Oh, the hook misses. That's a great tidal wave. But you can see Leave is going to get soaked up just a little bit there on the backside. Those Caterpillar Cats really doing work, as is these poke Varus Qs. Excuse me, on hit Varus Qs, not even poke Varus, but now you're going to have them starting up this Baron. They'll shred this. You've got so much damage here between the Varus and the Maokai. Jiejie is still there. They're going to see if they can put Leave in here. TP from FoFo. He's going to go for another clean engage. He's going to look for the shuffle. He's going to go for it. It's secured by top esports. They go in. Now we're going to see if JackeyLove can survive. It's going to be 1 kill. It's going to be 2. Top esports look at Rookie just untouched. And even JackeyLove will survive. It's a Baron. It's an 4 kills, nearly a clean ace. And it is almost certainly going to be the series with super minions here in the mid lane. There's nothing Meiko can do.
And 8 times in a row will top esports fell EDG in the regular season. They're going for the end. They haven't won since 2019 summer over top esports have EDG, and they will not today either.
What a series and what a landmark here for top esports, really solidifying themselves as top contenders atop the LPL. They will take down EDG in 2-1 fashion, but they were made to work for it in this series.
It just goes to show how high, particularly the level of the early games are between these teams. Obviously, things got very frenetic in the mid game, where the objective setup became the real key focus for both of these teams. But top esports, they were so dominantly ahead in most of their games, and a lot of that does come through their connection between the jungle Tian and their lanes doing so well mechanically in their own right.